Math. I don't know what happened. My recording stopped, so now I'm going to make a second recording. I was talking about the math. Basically, essentially, uh, if we spent like 8 to 10% of our income, which we're already spending more than that in a lot of cases, but 6 to 10% of our income spent in a cost sharing program, I think we'd be better off. Call it magical Medicaid. I don't care, whatever you want to call it. Bernie Sanders is right. It would bring the cost down for everybody, um, but everybody has to participate in it. Everybody. Elon Musk makes $4.4 billion a year, or whatever. 10% of that needs to go to this program. If Johnny Smith down the road makes $40,000 a year, um, taking 10% of his income is pretty significant. So we might have like some type of program that would help lessen that burden a little bit for him, but it implies that everybody pays their fair share. After all, it is fair. All right. Well, anyway, that's healthcare in a shit show. Healthcare in a. That's the shit show healthcare. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Media liberal versus conservative. Both are heavily biased, some more so than others, deliberately misleading, spinning a narrative based on some of the same facts. I have literally seen where Fox News was talking about an episode, on an episode of Fox News, if you want to call it that. They were talking about a thing that happened. It doesn't matter what the thing was. But the thing was happening. They got the facts right when they talked about it, but then they spun it to make it sound like it was a really bad thing and that you should be engaged and worried about it. And then I watched the same exact story break on MSNBC about an hour later, and that same exact story got uh, sort of overcast. It was like pushed down a little bit. They talked about the story for about half as long, and then talked about the horrible reaction that the right was having about it, and that they shouldn't be doing it. Dude, look, we need boring news. We need news that is like, if you have let's say there's 100 different companies presenting 100 different ways to view a story. Those biases needs to be known. There is an app called Ground News that looks to be trying to solve that, and I use it for a little while. I've used it for a little while, but fallen out of the habit. But it lets you know that, you know, such and such reporter swings this way, or usually swings this way, and they have like promotions, or they gain by, uh, you know, ties to this or that, and it's nice. But like, you still get that media swing, and I don't like that. It's not fair. I want boring news. I want actual facts, and I want to make up my own mind of what that means for the world or me or whoever. Again, telling you what to believe. You're watching somebody telling you what to believe and how to feel about that. And that's a total shit show. Again, like, social media is even worse. It seems data mining and the analytics and the artificial intelligence, or the algorithm, whatever people are calling it today, uh, on TikTok is particularly atrocious. Facebook is pretty bad. YouTube is bad. Like, I like YouTube in general. Like, I can find what I want usually, and I like some of the creators are just amazing. I love some of the independent artists that's on here, and the independent musicians. But if I type in, like, let's say I was like, this is what happened in 2017. I wanted to listen to a State of the Union address or whatever by the president at the time, which is Trump, even though I don't like him. So I typed it in and I found it. But because I typed it in, I got a whole bunch of stuff about Trump, and it was all positive. It seemed like it was all positive, like it was very positive, and like, so just to kind of test the theory, I typed in like, Trump's a dumbass or whatever, and I got like the opposite opinion. And after I viewed that a little bit, I got a lot of the controversy and the back and forth. It was either extreme one way or extreme the other way. And the same thing happened with Biden. So like, I don't mind YouTube suggesting things based on what I like, but just because I view something does not mean I like it, and I get tired of it. I don't usually comment. I don't usually like thumbs up stuff. I just watch, But because I've watched it in its entirety, and it it's going to display more stuff like that, and oftentimes that's just misleading because it doesn't allow you to think about it. I don't know how to explain it. It creates an echo chamber, particularly so on Facebook and TikTok. And I can only imagine that it's like that on Twitter or whatever the hell that's called now. These only serve to get clicks. They're giving you content that they believe you're going to like to get clicks. But what happens is when you fail to differentiate between liking something and raging at something. In fact, raging at something is 9 times more likely to get a comment by the person that's raging against it than something that is cute and that you might generally agree with. It fuels rage culture. That's exactly what it does. There are literally content creators. I use content very loosely there, that are making a ton of money right now because of the hate that they have fostered, and because social media has been created to embolden people to comment, like, and subscribe, or whatever. People feel more at ease blowing their mind all over the internet and almost have no ramifications for that. Very, very few, anyway. Now, if you're really outwardly horrible, racist, misogynist, you might get doxxed or canceled, but in general, you can say whatever you want to, and the only thing you have to do is look at your coworkers in the morning in the eye, or your family. And, like, I'll even go one further. A lot of people that like to really rage and really, like, it's their drug of choice, that they really want to create this really horrible content or whatever, they create fake accounts or accounts that don't have ties to the people that they don't want to disappoint. I've seen that too many times, actually. It's kind of an interesting, it's almost like watching somebody have a drug habit and know they have a drug habit and know they should be trying to fight it, but hiding in the bathroom. It's very weird. Rage culture. Rage culture is a very interesting issue that it pisses me off, which is ironic. The rage culture actually serves another purpose. It serves to radicalize people. It might not be specifically designed to do that, but that is what happens. A lot of people that have done really bad shit in the last 20 years has specifically pointed to something that enrages them, and it was in no small part purposefully created to do so. Like, media literacy should be something that's taught every school year. You should have an elective that's called media literacy, and it's mandatory. You should have it, and it should be mandatory, and there's no getting out of it. There's no parental slip getting you around it. It should be in every college. It should be in every high school. It should be in every middle school and every elementary school. Age-appropriate content, of course, but, like, I'm just saying, kids need to know how to cite their sources. They need to know how to tell if a source is cited properly and is honest. They need to know if the article they're reading or the meme they're reading has been generated by somebody trying to get them to rage or data mine or, if it's trying to indoctrinate or lie to or be satire. They need to know that stuff. And it's not to it's never too early to start. So, like, a long story short, those are a few things that really upset me. Um, I'm not so upset that I would do anything other than bitch about them. But like, there are other things in the world, you know. Like I could go, you know, I could go all night, literally. Like, I'm not sure why my uh, computer broke and stopped recording, and I had to restart. But like, that pisses me off. Parking fees in the city, that pisses me off, man. Like, I'm gonna park in front of my doctor's office. I'm gonna be in there tops 2 hours, right? And it's $4. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's lunch. Like, I could stop at a gas station, get a sandwich and a soda pop for that. That's crazy. $4, maybe 5 or 6 if you're in New York. All day parking in the city nearest me is sometimes as much as $8 a day. That's insane for a space, for a fucking parking space. It pisses me off, man. Other things that tick me off are people that think their shit's more important than everybody else's shit. I don't know how many times I've been on the interstate doing a little bit more than the speed limit because I'm not a madman and I don't do 70. 70 is like for old people, um, and I refuse to be old yet. If you're on the interstate, you need to go 70 or 72, right? Because like everybody's doing 75. And if you're doing 70, they're going to get mad at you if they get stuck behind two people doing 70. So, try to use your head and be safe. But like, I'm driving 70, 75, whatever. And somebody flies by me and like, can't even be bothered to use their signal. Like, use their signal and nah, just cut him off. Come within 6 inches of my bumper. I'm slamming on the brakes. The guy behind me's losing his fucking lunch. Like, that shit pisses me off. Like, I don't care if somebody is in the hospital dying and you're the one person that can save them, and by you speeding, you get there 15 seconds earlier. You're putting people's lives at risk. So, like, do the responsible thing. Drive slightly faster than everybody else, and you'll be fine. And when there's no one around you, you can hit that son of a bitch up to 220. Fuck, I don't care. But, like, you need to not cut people off. You need not to run red lights or wait until the last possible second to speed across the yellow intersection. You need not to wait until the last possible second to merge on road construction. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, you had a sign 4 miles ago that said road construction in 4 miles, and then the very next sign says road construction for the next 10 miles or whatever. So you know that in 4 miles you're going to have 10 miles of single lane traffic. So you're going to, and it's 55 on the interstate, right? So if you get busted, good luck, because in construction zones your fines are doubled and sometimes quadrupled depending on where you're at. That means a $300 fine can be as much as $1,200, and that's probably not counting court costs. So, like, you want to do 90? You can't do 90 when everybody else is doing 55. So, why do you pass 3 vehicles, right? Why are you speeding? You're going to pass them extra 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles, and then you're at the last minute, you're going to be upset because somebody ain't able to slow down enough, or they refuse to because you've been a general jerk, and you're going to squeeze into traffic. And now you're going to be slow, just like the rest of us, and you're going to get to the other end about the same time as we do, and now you're going to pass some more people. Why didn't you just, like, merge with the rest of us and then pass afterwards? And I know people are going to be like, oh, you can do this, or you can do that, or this is called merging, and I don't care. You're wrong. Like, if you're driving a car, which is a lethal weapon if used incorrectly, and you're driving erratic or too fast for the road conditions, then I sincerely hope you stub your toe for every morning for the rest of your life, and that a cop busts you doing 100 miles an hour in a 60 mile an hour zone, and you go to jail for 6 months to learn a lesson. Because, look, man, we are all in this together, Roads are already inherently unsafe because of potholes and obstacles, and vehicles malfunction. We do not need to add fuel to the fire by doing 100 miles an hour and merging at the last second at an intersection or whatever. So have some sense about you and don't be a dick. It's like, I'm not pagan anymore, but I did. I spent a while being pagan. They have a lot of fun drumming and hooping, and they eat good. Damn, they eat good. But like, they have this thing called the Wiccan Rede, which is like the rules to live by. And it was summed up: do what you will, but harm none. Right? So like, you are free to be an asshole. You are free to be a good guy. You're free to be a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, or whatever, an atheist. But you should not harm anyone. And harm is one of those words that can be defined in a myriad of ways. You can harm somebody or potentially harm somebody. So speeding on the interstate for the sake of speeding so you can get to your McDonald's fast enough, or so you can be, a minute and a half earlier to your job, is potential harm and is wrong. Like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. Don't be a dick. George Carlin summed up the Ten Commandments to one, and he's basically like, don't be a little dick. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Anyway, a lot of other things piss me off in the world too. Another pet peeve of mine is probably a pet peeve of a lot of people's. When somebody says they're going to do something and then without warning or notification doesn't do it. Like, don't tell me you love me if you're not going to love me. Don't tell me you'll be here Saturday at 2 o'clock to do a thing with me or for me, and then not show up without a notice. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is it's something that started when I was in college, and I noticed it a lot. I had a friend who was always on time and always followed through with what they said, and if they couldn't, on the few cases that they could not do, on the few times they couldn't, they would actually call my dorm and let me know, or they would email me. And this is before texts and phones and stuff like that were readily available. So like, be that person, right? I also had a whole bunch of friends that would make plans with me, talk about the plans constantly, like they were so stoked for paintball that weekend, or super stoked to get together and drink at our campground, and then ready to go, and they're nowhere to be found, and I couldn't get a hold of them, and I'm worried about them, so I'm spending 3 hours looking for them, only to find them somewhere completely different, or they've gone to do something else, and like, fuck you, dude, we didn't care, didn't care about you enough. And that's what a lot of people feel when people don't follow through with what they say. So if you can't follow through, be a man, be human, I don't know, and let them know, because it's not fair to them. And it goes for that in the professional setting too. Like, I worked for this IT company that I recently got fired from, as I mentioned in like every one of my other videos. It was actually a company mandate that if somebody reaches out to you for help or assistance in something, that you were to let them know you were supposed to help them. And if you had no time to help them, you need to let them know that you could not help them. That way they wouldn't hopefully not bother you anymore. And nobody would. I remember there was literally one person in the entire company that knew about PowerShell enough in terms of Office 365. I needed help kicking off a forced update on, I don't know what it was, some archiving process. You can enable archiving and it's supposed to happen, but like, it needed to happen right now because that dude's drive, his space was all eaten up. So I enabled it and it didn't do anything. And 3 days had passed, nothing had happened, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he didn't message me back, and I messaged the whole company, and nobody else knew. Hey, did you try to contact this other person? So I did again, and they didn't message me back. And then, so I ended up actually looking it up and figuring out that you could PowerShell in and physically force it. So I'm a level 2 doing level 3 and 4 work. What the fuck? Why did my pay not go up, first off? Second off, why didn't that guy tell me? He could have spent 30 seconds dictating it to me on the phone, but he didn't. And that was a common practice. Like, you're supposed to help your teammates, and the selfish bastards would not, more often than not. There were a couple people that were really good about it. I always answered my email promptly. Um, Even if it was just, hey man, I'm on site doing this other thing, I can't get to you right now. Let me give you a call back in about an hour. And, they'd be like, cool man, thanks. And then if they solve it before I get a hold of them, they would let me know, you see, or should have. That's a big pet peeve. Bad habits when you're kids translate to bad habits when you're an adult. And I guess my mama raised me with the common courtesy uh, that a good Appalachian boy would have. I say please and thank you as often as I can, and I say I'm sorry when I'm wrong. Albeit I did have a come to Jesus meeting, or come to Jesus moment when I realized that sometimes I would be like, I'm sorry, but yeah, you don't do that. That's called gaslighting, or a form of like interjecting an excuse. So like, I try real hard not to do that, and I try to be the person that I would want to interface with when I'm at work. So like, I realize that not everybody has happy days, and sometimes you have a week full of Mondays. But like, if you think about how other people interface with you and try to be at least okay enough that you would be okay interfacing with yourself, then you'll be all right. Like, if you're okay interfacing with this person and how that makes you feel, then you'll be all right. You know what I mean? Like, don't be a dick, right? Don't be a dick. All right, man, I'm out of here. I am so tired. I don't care if anybody ever watches this or listens to it. I'm having fun, just preaching a little bit. I hope you don't listen to this and take my word as gold. I hope you make your own opinions about shit. I don't know. Stay frosty. And, be, don't be a dick.